Hello, friends. Now, I would like to discuss the last part of your Model 4 non banking financial companies where the evaluation of lease. See, normally, the lease and hire purchase is a financial options available to the business people. See, normally, as a business person, at the time of acquiring an asset, a decision has to be taken whether an asset has to be purchased or should be taken on lease, or if at all the asset has to be taken on not on lump sum payment, then whether to choose a lease option or buy option. So there are two types of decisions that we need to take. In case of a lease, an analysis has to be made to find out whether a lease contract is beneficial or whether to purchase the asset that is a good option. So the evaluation of lease can be based on lease or buy option, whether to lease an asset or buy an asset. So the evaluation is made from the point of view of two parties. One is from the point of view of lessee. Lessee means a business person who is going to invest money for the purpose of lease contract, or who is the person who is to buy the asset. So from the point of view of lessee, so he is going to evaluate the option whether to buy an asset or whether to lease an asset. In case of buying an asset, the buyer has to that is the business person or entrepreneur or person who acquires an asset, has to pay the lump sum amount of the face value of the asset and purchase it. So when he does it, he is going to evaluate that option, how much is the total investment he is making, what is the life of an asset, and what is the return throughout the lifetime of the asset. He calculates that. And in case of a lease, he is going to evaluate the lease expenditure. Normally the rentals, how much is the rentals to be paid for a lease contract over a period of time. Suppose for example an asset value is 1 lakh rupees, is 1 crore rupees, and he is going to use that asset for 10 years. In case of a lease contract, he has to pay a certain amount of lease amount every year. For example, over a period of time, 1 crore rupees asset value, he has to pay 25 lakhs rupees per year. 25 lakhs rupees per year. So he is to using it for 10 years. So the lease total expenditure would be calculated 25 lakhs into 2.5 crores. He has to pay 1 crore rupees for acquiring an asset, and he can use it for 10 years. 10 years. Now in this case, he may take a decision to buy an asset, because if he buys it for 1 crore rupees and uses it for 10 years, the asset expenditure would be less, because after 10th year, if he is the owner, if he sells the asset, he may get the residual value also. So in this case, buying option would be better than a leasing option. So like that, what he does is he compares the total expenditures. So this is from when you are evaluating a lease financing decision from the point of view of the lessee. There is a procedure in a financial principle how to evaluate an asset value under lease. There are certain steps that are been mentioned. One is calculate the present value of the net cash flow of buying an option. If you are buying option, the cash will go out of the business while you are buying an asset. So cash outflow has to be calculated, and when you are using an asset, cash inflow has to be calculated. So net present value has to be identified. Net present value will be total cash inflow minus total cash outflow calculated at a present value. If the uh, this is a first one. Next one is we have a lease option also. In this case also we need to calculate the present value of the net cash flow. Net cash flow would be outflow of the cash and inflow of the cash. What is the total cash outflow at a net present value over a period of time? That is the rent and all that. So we need to calculate a net present value. Now decide whether to buy or lease the asset. Reject the proposal uh, together by applying the following criteria. If the net value net present value of buying is positive and greater than the net present value of the purchase, the cost purchase the cost, the net present value of the lease, we are comparing the net present value of lease and the net present value of the buying. If the net present value of the lease is positive, higher, inflow is high as compared to the net present value of the lease, then it is better to purchase an asset. That is, buying an asset is a good option. In sometimes if you are calculating that net present value of the lease is positive and greater than the net present value of the b, leasing asset is always better, because you have a benefit in case of lease contract where the cash inflow, net cash inflow will be more. Net cash inflow will be more than the net cash inflow of the buying decision. So in that case, we should go for the lease. And if the net present value of the buying as well as net present value of the lease are both negative, then better to reject the proposal. We need not undergo neither buying nor for leasing. We need to reject the proposal if both the cases the net outflow is a negative. That is how we are going to take the decision. Based on this, there are several problems. There are several problems we need to attend with. Those problems I will discuss at the end of the syllabus. After completing all the 6 modules, I will take up the solution to solving the problems on the lease and hire purchases. Kindly bear with me till the completion of the syllabus, because it takes a little time, because explaining all the solutions for the problem online would be difficult. So I expect the students to come on offline mode for solving this. And because of this COVID pandemic, when the online classes are going on, so there is an option that the students can attend the theory uh, exams. They attend the theory questions rather than these practicals, because practicals will be given an option. That is what the decision is being taken at the university level. But anyhow, we should prepare for examination, considering that these questions would appear and may become a compulsory sometimes. Considering that, we have to attend this. So I will discuss these points while discussing the problems. So this is from the lease point of time. From the point of view of the lessee also, internal rate of return has to be calculated. Lessor, if at all, lessor has to undergo the lease contract, whether to go for the lease or sell the property. There are two options with him as a lessor. Lessor means owner of the property. There are two options with him. Either he can give the asset on the lease contract to somebody else to use it for several years, or he can sell the property. When he is going to sell an property, how much earning he makes it, and if he is giving it on lease basis for several basis over a period of 10 years time, what is the total revenue he gets, he has to compare that and take a decision. So there are problems on these also, but from the point of view of lessee, lot of questions are there in the examination. So these are the questions that we need to solve in the examination. These questions are repeatedly asked in the examination, so I will solve these problems after the end of the syllabus. So this is example number 1, example number 2, example number 3, example number 4. So like this, from the lessor's point of view, the present value method, internal rate of return method, two things are taken into consideration. We have not solved much problems on this. No need to worry about this. But lessee's point of view, questions have appeared in the examination. Now, the hire purchase and lease decision. Here in this case, in case of lease contract, whether to buy or to lease was the thing. Now in this case, we are calculating the higher purchase option also. When the buyer of the asset, when the business person has two options, either he has to undergo a lease contract or he has to undergo a higher purchase contract. In this case, the decision should be taken by computing the higher purchase cost first, compute the higher purchase cost, then compute the lease cost, then compare and decide the low cost option, whichever is the low cost. In this case, we are calculating the cost. While taking the decisions in lease or buy, we are calculating the cash outflow, but in this case, we are calculating the cost. So for calculating the higher purchase cost, we have a cost sheet compare of this purchase cost. First one is, in most of the higher purchase, we have to make a down payment. We should take out the down payment, and there is a service charge for maintenance of the asset. Add that service charge, then add the present value of higher purchase payments. If at all higher purchase payments have to be made, discounted at cost of the debt, so that has to be added. Then we should deduct the present value of the tax shield on depreciation, because depreciation is an income in case of higher purchases. So out of the total cost, we should deduct the tax saved on the higher purchase value. That has to be deducted. Then we should also deduct the net salvage value, because at the end of the asset value, we are selling the asset, so we have a revenue. That revenue should be deducted from the total cost. Then we get the total purchase cost. This is one calculation part. Another calculation part in the problem, we get that lease related expenditure explanation. So lease cost should be calculated. Now present value of the lease payments. Lease payment is a cost. Every year or every month you are paying the rent of the lease contract. You have to calculate the expenditure involved. Add a lease management fees. There is something called lease management fees, because you are incurring certain extra expenditures for managing the lease, maybe registration of the asset and all that. That has to be. These are the two important costs. And let the present value of the tax shield on the lease payments. In case of financial lease, there is a tax benefit available to the lessee actually. So that tax shield the income earned on that should be deducted. Then we need to add the present value of the tax shield on the interest under higher purchase. If at all you are buying the asset on the higher purchase, that value has to be added here. Now you get the total cost of the lease. Then we should compare the higher purchase, the higher purchase cost and lease cost. Whichever is low, that has to be taken as a decision. Suppose, for example, lease cost is more and higher purchase cost is less, then we should go for higher purchase. That is beneficial for the business. On the calculation part, if at all the higher purchase cost is high and lease cost is less, then we should go for lease. Based on this also, we will solve one or two problems at the end of the syllabus. So here the hypothetical, this question has been repeatedly asked in 3-4 times in the examination. We will discuss these points. There are 2-3 problems. So by the time for the time being, we see that this model is completed, and we will take up the problems at the end whenever the time permits. So I thank all of you for watching this video, and we will go through the problems and all that in the next classes. So tomorrow onwards, I start the fifth module and try to finish out the syllabus as early as possible. And after that, we will see the problems of the lease and hire purchase. So I thank all the students for your patience listening. Thank you.